I am Geoff Eido. This is Lunacy, where we discern the sacred from the insane and admit that, whether we like it or not, we are all profoundly affected by the cycles of the moon. My guest today is Autumn Reeser, who is a very, very good friend of mine. I feel super honored and grateful to have you on the program. She's a really, really close friend. She's a sister from another mister. And I just couldn't be happier to have her on the show. If you don't know Autumn's work, she's an incredibly successful actress. She's in a lot of Hallmark movies, and she's known around the world for her talents and the love that she brings. And she's also just a really good human being. So it's a really great privilege to have you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad this finally worked out. We've been trying to do this for a while, and I really believe in divine timing. And I'm so grateful that it's happening now, and it's happening in your beautiful space here, and that I'm able to visit your town and be with you in person. And it's exactly the way it's meant to be. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So Autumn and I do plant medicine together. We've done a lot of ayahuasca ceremonies together.
Ceremonial work. And
it's been a real privilege. You know, it's funny to say, oh, I know someone from ayahuasca work, because it's like, well, what are you talking about? What is that? It just sounds so weird. And so we should maybe kind of clarify a little bit about ayahuasca. It's a sacred plant medicine. It's been around for thousands of years. It's been used by indigenous cultures in Brazil and Peru and Colombia and South America, Central America. And it is a hallucinogen, and it really helps to tap one into what's going on beneath the surface, right? Safe to say?
Yeah. Yeah. And within and without, it expands your consciousness. And it's a path that I found through my desire to heal trauma that I'd been through. And I found a lot of healing through it. It's a path to healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here. Yeah. I just, so people know, if you haven't seen my other programs, I came to it because I wanted to quit smoking.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There were two reasons why I came to it. One, a friend of mine had, who I had done a lot of Zen meditation with. I used to go to a Zen temple in Santa Monica for a long time. And he was a good friend of mine from there. And he was like, you have to try ayahuasca. It will blow your mind. It's such an incredibly spiritual experience. You'll really love it. And then also I had heard that it was helpful in helping people get rid of addictions. And I had been smoking for like 30 years, and I was like, it was hurting me. You know, I could feel it in my throat and in my lungs. And I was like, you're going to die from this if you don't do something. So we came to it to quit smoking, and I really had an intention to stop smoking. And wow, it totally worked.
I'm so grateful that you took that invitation, that you did that healing for yourself. I lost my grandparents to lung cancer from smoking.
Yeah.
And so, wow, I'm glad that you stopped and you're still here with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was a really profound, that whole thing was a very profound, kind of, I think, first of all, ayahuasca is not for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enter at your own risk, and really don't do it unless you really feel called to it. You know, otherwise you can just listen to it about it from us.
And there's beautiful documentaries about it as well.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, what was really interesting about that was, you know, they say that there's evidence that you create new neural pathways when you do ayahuasca. And in this context, I was really wanted to cure this addiction. And what happened after I left the ceremony was I would want a cigarette because I was addicted to it. And I would think, God, I really want a cigarette. And then I would visualize, like, it wasn't like I was doing my own sort of meditative thing where I was like, okay, I'm going to enter into a visualization now. It was like, it just came into my mind, seeing myself get into the car, go to the liquor store down the street, walk into the door, buy a pack of Dunhill Lights because I'm fancy, go out in the parking lot, open the pack, pull the tinfoil off, light the cigarette, feel like complete shit, about myself, and then keep smoking because I didn't want to waste it. You know, like I would go through that whole process in my mind and just feel all those feelings that I felt, all that guilt and shame and everything. And then I wouldn't want the cigarettes.
Wow.
And that happened over and over and over again until then. Now I don't smoke anymore.
Congratulations. Wow.
Yeah. It was a really like beautiful gift. And it's interesting because I feel like that's, you know, I went in with the intention, okay, I want to stop smoking. And this is how it was shown to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like this is the way.
You always get exactly what you need and exactly the way you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think people don't really know that much about plant medicine or ayahuasca. And, you know, maybe they think it's like a fun thing that you do on a weekend. It's not.
Nope. It's work. It's beautiful. But yeah, it's don't come if you're not ready to really look at yourself and go within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, for both of us and certainly for the people that we sit with and anybody that I really know that's done ayahuasca in any context, you know, it's really like a way of, you know, you only enter in if you want to liberate yourself from something, or if you want to look deeper at your own life and at life in general. And then it opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah. And I think that's why they say you have to hear the call. And I know for me, there was zero interest in any stepping into anything on this path. I had never explored any sort of hallucinogen, psychedelic. It wasn't part of my life at all. And I had tried so many methods to deal with, I had CPTSD, which is complex PTSD.
Okay.
So it is the result of being in a situation that your psyche finds traumatic for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. For me, that was relationship trauma. And I had tried done and received benefits from so many different modalities, different types of somatic work, EMDR, which is
eye movement.
Yeah, different eye movements, or the way that I was receiving it was different pulses in different hands. It's reorganizing the hemispheres of the brain.
Okay.
I'm sure there's people who can describe it much better than that, but I had tried a lot of different TRE, which is some sort of tension release where you tense the body and then the body starts to vibrate the trauma out of it. And beautiful practitioners that I had done all of this with, and a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, talk therapy. And I was still finding my nervous system activated by certain things that would happen in my life, certain words, things people would say. And I realized I was like, okay, I have now all of the mental tools to deal with this, and this is in my body. And it was I went very quickly from it was like I was not interested. None of this had any resonance in my life whatsoever, to suddenly going, oh, that's what I need. It was clear and it was immediate. And it was for me the path to finally healing those energetic wounds that exist within the body, those places that my body was holding on to these traumatic experiences, because at the time that I was experiencing them, I didn't have the tools or support to process what was happening. And so the body keeps the score, the energy gets what the issue is in the tissues, like it gets stored within your body. And that's where I found that ayahuasca really helped me feel safe enough to release those, and to really, because you end up having to really feel these things that you weren't prepared to feel at the time. And anyone who's experienced trauma, childhood trauma, adult trauma, complex trauma, if you're not ready to face it when it's happening, which most of us aren't, you know, that's what trauma is. It's too soon, too fast, or too much. Something that's happening in that way where the body and the psyche can't process it, it gets stored to be processed later, or to be acted out later through behaviors and experiences.
Repetition.
That don't help you.
Yeah.
And so.
And might hurt somebody else. Which is why I'm such an advocate for doing whatever work you need to take care of those issues within yourself. And there's so many different modalities available now. And for me, this was the one that I came to when I was ready. Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah, it's so funny how things get stuck in the body like that. I've heard that and I believe it, but watching my cats stretch in the morning, like they shake everything out, whenever they get up, like they stretch, they do this whole thing that seems totally natural it's not culturally appropriate for us to do. We don't get up and do yoga unless you're in an Indian culture or whatever. We really should actually. Yeah.
I say that, and yet I get up and have coffee some mornings. Right. I'm like, I really should do yoga, but the coffee's calling.
Right. Exactly.
No, but I have a practice in the mornings, and I know you do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but it's so interesting. I mean, there really are things that get stuck in your body that you cannot release, and you have to go through. I know I've had moments in ceremony where I've like really like experienced something that was super traumatic, and I was like shaking, until it was released, but then once it's released, it does feel actually released. Like there is an actual healing, that happens. And I think it's really fascinating to hear, especially from you, that, that's so much a part of why you do that work is a method of healing. And I think that's something else that's important to point out. It's not like, not an addictive thing, if you really considered the amount of ayahuasca that gets consumed in a ceremony, it's a very small amount, really. And it's not something that you want to go and do every weekend.
Well, it's also not something that even sounds appealing to so many people. They're like, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I went and sat in a room and threw up.
Yeah.
Like most people are not like, that sounds great. Right. Sign me up for that. It's that's a big part of it, and so
yeah,
you have to want your healing in order to walk through that discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to me, it's been worth it for the amount of peace that I've found on the other side of it. Yeah, on the other side of releasing these wounds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think anybody who's we were talking earlier about kind of the story of the podcast and why I'm doing this, and a lot of it for me is like really expanding the love operating system for myself and for other people, really asking myself, how do I love more? How do I give more love in the world? How do I feel like I'm in touch with the things that I love the most and activating those? And plant medicine for me has been like a critical tool for that, where I've been able to take it deeper because, as you pointed out, there is discomfort that gets brought up when you're on the medicine, and it's not me I'm not the one thinking about it. It's like all of a sudden the blind spots or the trauma that I couldn't see that's been in my way gets put right in front of my face. Mm-hmm. And then I have to deal with it. I have to look at it. And the reason that it's being put there is so that I can deal with it, so that I can release it. It's like actively engaging your ignorance, so that you can see what's in the way.
I love it. Yeah. Wow. I never heard ignorance put that way. Ignorance.
Yeah. That's the way it should be pronounced.
Seriously. Yeah. That's great.
It's an active thing. We like to pretend. I mean, small side note, if you consider the enormity of things that are happening that this vessel has to interpret all the time, all the different signals and things, the air currents and the sounds. And if you think of us as hunters, there's so much coming at us all the time. Plus then also our hearts beating and our bodies moving and all the circulatory things that are happening and breathing and, and so we as conscious beings have to ignore so many of those things so we can focus on whatever we need to focus on, whether it's like the hunt or getting our basic needs met so that the whole thing can continue. Like we are ignorance machines. And so it's like a critical thing, but then also we tend to ignore things that we don't want to look at or think about or deal with. Traumas. Yeah. We tend to ignore traumas because nobody wants to think about that stuff.
And I also think most of us grow up in family systems that sweep things under the rug. That is the method of dealing with things. We're always dealing with things. There's a choice with how to deal with it. And one of the choices is to not look at it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I'm just going to sweep this under the rug. And so we don't have the training or the skill set for how to process things that come in or challenging or difficult in a way that is healthy and healing. One thing I experienced through doing this work, maybe about a year into it, I lost my dog, and she died suddenly in my home. And and my children were there. So it was an interesting experience of having to navigate my grief around that, also their grief, also dealing with death in a very immediate manner. And what was so interesting about it, I realized it was the first time in my life that I grieved properly because I didn't look away.
Wow.
We did a little ceremonial work around her with her body. So also to be able to walk that alongside my kids in a healthy way, because I have some trauma around that in my past, around how death was held in my household. So to get this generational opportunity to heal that. And then the whole week afterwards, it was just waves of grief coming through, allowing them to move through. They were intense, but quick. You know, somebody who I worked with described grief like waves in an ocean. If you fight against the waves, you exhaust yourself. If you're willing to let the wave take you up and out, you'll eventually end up back on the shore.
Yeah.
So it was the first time that I just allowed that to happen. And I wasn't afraid of how I was showing up or what this looked like. It would just happen. And then when I finally got through that to a place where I felt more peace about it, I was finally able to grieve the dog that I lost 7 years before.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even realize that I hadn't fully grieved that. That was a trauma. My dog died in my arms. It was he was killed by a coyote, and like, it was traumatic. And I did not have the capacity to hold that at that time. And there was a lot going on in my life. I just didn't even realize that I hadn't released all of that. But properly holding grief, because I felt like I had the capacity finally, then allowed me to go back and let the rest of the grief from my past move through.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's so, it's interesting because, we walk around haunted by these things, these traumas. My dad died March 8th, so not so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I'm still grieving that. But, the fact that I have chosen to be in a space where I am choosing to actively grieve has made so much of a difference. And in fact, like I've just been embracing, like, okay, first of all, I dealt with my dad before he died. Like I got clear with him. We were good. Like I love my father, and my dad loves me, and like there was nothing between us as far as grudges or any of that bullshit.
So beautiful that you had the opportunity to do that. I bet there's a lot of people listening who wish that they had had that opportunity. So so glad that you had that, did the work to get there, because it's not easy to do that.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's, if you listen to, there's an episode about my father dying. I kind of dig a little deeper into how we created that together. But so I had kind of dealt with any sort of grief or any issues that I had. And he knew that I loved him. Like, and I knew that he loved me. There wasn't any of that stuff going on either. So when he died, it was like, okay, I'm releasing, but still I mourn the man, I mourn my dad, and being able to call him up and play music for him and like, whatever, just have him around. He was a real heart, and just allowing myself to grieve whenever I feel it, whenever it comes up, like, so important. But I wouldn't have done that before, and also, we had a ceremony where, I don't know, were you at that ceremony?
And the prayer you did was beautiful.
And I got it. Like, it was just, one of our friends came up and said, look, however you need to feel, whatever space you need to be in, like, we're here for you. This is that place. Which was such a beautiful context to be in that space. It was 2 weeks after my dad died. And, I just wept like a lot, and so much came out of that. It's like weeping for the loss of my father, weeping for this is a new chapter of my life. This is like, now I'm with every death, it's a new beginning. So it's like, I'm also starting my life without him or with his influence in me. And like, what does that mean? And what about unfulfilled expectations that I had, or that maybe he had, or, like.
And you're the only son, correct?
I'm the only son. Yeah. So, yeah, so there's that too. I mean, I have 2 sisters and I have 3 nephews. And so that's great. Our genes are going on. You know what I mean? All right, we're in it to win it. Here we go.
It was a profound threshold crossing for you in so many ways. You'd also just gotten married.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's, wow. This has been an intense few months for you.
It's been a crazy year. Yeah. It's been great. Yeah. And all of that. And the fact that my father, made it to the wedding, he came, like he was on the brink of death and he fought back and came so he could be at our wedding, which was so beautiful. But to your point, and by the way, dog loss, that's a huge thing.
You don't need to.
No. I want to be clear, because it's like people might be like, well, she's talking about her dog and you're talking about your dad. I think honestly, like, dogs are very often closer to us. Animals are closer to us than members of our own family. You just lost
your cat too.
Yeah. And I lost my cat. And so any of those kind of losses, I feel like, are very deep and personal. And I lost my train of thought.
You were going to say dog loss. You were going to share with us about dog loss.
Is also a very big grieving, for sure. And with my dad, I guess I feel that being in this work, like doing plant medicine work and being, a student of spirituality and what all of that means, has enabled me to process and grieve his death in a really healthy way.
Beautifully put.
And I'm still in that process, but it's like, I know that I have a deeper connection to my own purpose and my own ability to serve others as a result of doing the work of grieving.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
As opposed to just burying it and then waking up 20 years later when I'm really old.
Yeah. And having to do it then.
Yeah. Or just not doing it.
There's a really beautiful book that I've been reading called Finding the Words by Colin Campbell. And it's a book about profound loss. I can't even talk about what his loss is, and the grief work that he's spent the last 3 years doing. And I have learned so much through his ability to articulate the process of grief, the techniques that he's used to allow it to move through, and his courage in the way that he's walking with his grief. And he's saying exactly this, to turn and face into it and deal with it now.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this book. It's a beautiful, beautiful, profound gift to the world.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I did an episode. My first episode was called Hunting Discomfort, with a friend of mine who wrote a book called Hunting Discomfort.
Wow.
Who's also does plant medicine work as well. Sterling Hawkins.
Hunting Discomfort. Yeah.
And it's like, so much of what his premise in the book is very much, we should actively seek out our own discomfort so that we can grow as human beings. And I totally agree with that.
Well, I see your Wim Hof book over there.
Oh, yeah.
The cold
Wim
plunge
Hof.
King.
Do it. Get into it. It's good for you, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And there's something about actively engaging the discomfort when it happens, when it's a traumatic event, when there's a loss of life, or when something awful happens, have the tantrum that you want to have in the moment of having it so that you can deal with it. There's something about actively engaging all of that emotional response while it's happening versus suppressing it.
Yeah.
and pretending it's not there.
I learned a lot about anger in the last 2 years, which has been amazing. And so what I'm thinking of, one of the ways that I learned how to process anger is literally just walking around my house, having imaginary conversations with the person I'm angry with.
Oh, wow.
And one of my best friend, it's hilarious. So my best friend is from Argentina, and she's been one of, her name's Carolina, and she has been one of the most amazing teachers of my life because she comes from a culture where you're allowed to feel.
Uh-huh.
And so she would, and I come from a Germanic background, which is the opposite of that. A lot of repression of feelings. And so my whole life, we've been friends for, oh my gosh, a really long time now, 17, 18 years. And she would always say, you're allowed to feel what you feel your feelings. And I would kind of nod, but none of that would get in. Mm-hmm. I didn't really understand it. So when I was learning about this, finally about anger in the last couple of years, she would call and she'd be like, how are you? And I'd go, I'm angry. And she would go, that's amazing. And I'm like, I'm walking around my house just being angry. And she's like, congratulations. And it was really beautiful because it was a lot of the suppressed anger that it's just energy.
Yeah.
Emotion, energy in motion. Mm-hmm. And so I just had to allow the energy to have motion. Yeah. I'm alone in my home. I'm just walking around. There's so much energy within anger. And so it's got to move. Mm-hmm. And so that was super helpful for me. And a lot of this work can look a little crazy, which is why it's great to do it on your own, in your own house alone. Yeah. It's amazing if you can find community to do it with too. But that moment, I learned so much about that, about just letting the energy move. If it's stuck, let it move. This is what it needed to do. Imaginary conversations. And it was a lot of stuff from them. All the times I didn't speak up in the past, all the times I didn't speak my truth. I spoke it to myself. I spoke it to God. I spoke it to my sacred space. Yeah. And then it was out. It was out of my body. And so when these things that would come up that used to trigger me, like, how dare they? Or I'm so angry about this. It's oh yeah, it's okay. I've processed that. I can just be a witness to it. It doesn't mean that that I don't see the injustice there, mm-hmm. or that it's okay for people to speak to you in certain ways, but it doesn't now trigger all of the times that I didn't speak up in the past. It's like, okay, I can just deal with the injustice that's happening right now in this moment.
Mm-hmm. And you get the opportunity to respond instead of react.
Yes, from a healthy place.
Yeah, because you're not in the trigger. I mean,
yeah. And there's what you were saying, ignore ants, responsibility, responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Is something I've been looking at.
That's
lately.
good. I like that.
I know.
High five.
Thanks. We're doing great. Breaking down the English language. But I've really been loving that also because I had some feeling too much, as you know, like a sense of responsibility in the incorrect use of that word, which is carrying too much on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. Now I'm starting to understand it as responsibility, my ability to respond in a healthy way to the stimulus that's happening in front of me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So good.
That's really great.
Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And also so many different ways of somatic healing. I know for men, we have a lot of anger. It's important to find ways of expressing that anger, whether it's beating a pillow or
boxing.
Running. Yeah. Running, lifting weights.
Yeah.
You can get really angry at weights and they don't care, you just get stronger.
Yeah. And for women, it's we tend to take our anger and internalize it into mm-hmm. self-hatred.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why women will tend towards depression and all of that, this contractive energy. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. It's how do I get this out? Because it's an energetic feeling. And so it needs to come out in an energetic way. It needs to be externalized in a way that's safe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had one of the most profound releases for me somatically, some things. It's not really important what happened, really. It's just important that I had a lot of anger at a situation that happened. Yeah. And I went to the ocean and I went underwater and I just screamed and yelled under. You have to
That's
be careful
a good one.
so you don't drown. But you know, you can, if you just scream as loud as you want, no one on the beach heard me. And then you can fight the waves and stuff like that. And it was such a profound release for me. I just like wore myself out. I'd just go underwater and kick and scream.
How did you know to do that?
It just came to me. Like, that's what you need to do. Go to the beach, go to the ocean, go underwater and scream. I don't know.
That's was beautiful. Like, yeah, because you have the force of nature that's working with you that you can push against.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And the ocean is such a beautiful, you know, precious, amazing, divine thing. You know, that's where all life comes from, the ocean,
and
right?
how beautiful that she can hold you in your anger, and she can hold you in that process.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And there's sort of I don't know exactly how to say this, but it's like, you know, she can take anything.
She's stronger than all of us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, you know, that's from whence we came, was the ocean. It used to just be a big ball of water. And then the moon came, and the moon started affecting the tides, and then land came, and then cells formed, and then life formed, and then, you know, poof, here we are. But just to be able to, I think the other thing that's important about that is finding a way to process trauma using nature, whether it's going hiking or in the woods or screaming at the ocean or like.
There's so many ways to do it. I want to say it's called Animus Valley. I want to say they're in Colorado, and they do wilderness treks, you know, like vision fast type works where you go 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, fasting in nature and receiving what you need to receive. And I know for me, there's been part of my healing has also been long backpacking trips.
Oh yeah.
Because it's hard. It's hard. And I took Carolina actually last summer on a 5-day backpacking trip on Catalina Island off the coast of California. And it was so beautiful and transformative for her because she was ready for that. And she was ready to have a breakthrough. And when you get out on the land or in the ocean and you're asking for support from the elements, like, you will be supported and you will receive what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, we keep coming back to this. And by the way, anything that we are sharing is not, you know, from any sort of high place. It's more like, this is what we're discovering for ourselves that's helpful to us. So we want to share it with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, you know, one of the things that I find critically missing from our culture, certainly here in the United States, but also globally, is, you know, our connection to nature. You know, we got so good at dominating nature and making concrete and houses so you can't rain on us anymore, that we lost the connection to source and our connection to all of it and why we're here on a deeper level, on a level that one couldn't even actually describe. It's like just a belonging to that I think is really missing. And I think doing that kind of work, whether it's like finding a vision quest or going to an ayahuasca ceremony or, doing a sweat lodge. You know, you mentioned you just did a sweat lodge ceremony, right? Yeah. That's such a grounding meditative experience, combining sauna. That's like such an ancient thing, an ancient way of connecting to nature. But even it also can be like just taking off your shoes and putting your feet in the ground. Like Christine and I we went to Florida for my dad's first celebration of life. And so Sebastian Maniscalco, this comedian, mentioned, if you really want to not have jet lag, when you get to the place, ground wherever you are. And so that's what we did. We took our socks off and we went to the ground. We just like stomped our feet in the dirt for a while. And we did not have jet lag, actually. It worked. He's right. But also it's connecting to the planet. Like we miss there's a lot of evidence about, you know, earthing and that whole thing and really connecting our whole sphere, our system to the planet that's super good for us. But it's also just a way to really connect to source and the planet. So I encourage everyone to go out and shake your feet in the dirt. You know what I mean? Do it today. All right.
when we cut ourselves off from nature, we cut ourselves off from this source of support. That's, I think, our birthright.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And also it's just kind of like when it's all about me and my problems and I'm separate from, then that's just like crazy making. You know what I mean? The more that I separate myself off, the more that I am disconnected, and I'm going to go down some crazy spiral into depression.
Totally. Well, that's why it's important for us to have conversations like this. So people who don't realize, like, I can talk about these things and don't have the support in their lives to where they feel that they can talk about the things that they're dealing with, which is all of us, just to hear other people. I know it was super helpful for me on my journey, people who were willing to share their struggles and their traumas and how they worked through them. It helped me feel safe to do that as well. It helped me feel like, oh, okay, this is just part of being human. It's okay that I'm struggling here, or that this has been really hard for me. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me.
Right.
It means that this is part of the human journey, and it's possible to find support, and it's possible to find healing. And I just need to find people who I can talk about this with, who know how to hold safe space, or who have done this work as well. And so for anyone out there who doesn't feel like you have anyone in your life who's doing that right now, like, keep tuning in to things like this, and just the desire for it. I found, for me, the desire to heal called in those people and those opportunities into my life.
Yeah, totally. I mean, unfortunately, being human is an incredibly sticky business.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's just
Don't you have some days where you're just like, I don't want a human?
Yeah.
Do I have to human today? I don't want to. So many days.
I just want to ET just today. You know what I mean?
But there's no other option.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, well, no,
ET even had his trauma. You know what I mean?
He needed to go home.
He needed to go home.
Yeah, he wasn't home.
He wasn't home. Yeah, that's great. I don't want a human today. Good luck. But yeah, I think that we like to ignore and what's the word I'm looking for? Like, clean everything. We just want to sanitize.
Yeah.
Like, we want to sanitize our lives and pretend like, oh, it's all clean and everything's fine. Everything's fine here. Everything's fine here.
Well, gosh, everything in the culture.
Even though I'm breaking apart inside.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like, horribly depressed, and I have no idea what to do, and I'm feeling super lost, but I got to keep it together so nobody sees that I'm all fucked up inside.
Yeah.
Versus like actually confront, no, it's going to be messy, and there's no getting around it. I can't get around the fact that it's going to be messy. There's, no mud, no lotus, as the Buddha said. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's something super liberating in accepting the fact that that we are going to have to deal with traumas over and over again. And the more we allow ourselves to experience those traumas and process and like get through it, the more that we're able to find our truth and be of service.
Yeah. And then when the new bumps come in, we can just say, okay, that's a challenge. This is a challenge, hopefully. And yeah.
Yeah. If you're enjoying this program, if you love Lunacy, even if you just like Lunacy, please consider becoming part of our team. Please go to patreon.com/Lunacy podcast to become a member of our team. You can choose a number of different levels to support us on a monthly basis so that we can continue the work of exploring the love operating system, how best to be of service, and how to live life to the fullest. Thank you so much for your support. Much love, everybody. And so I think that's something else that we should maybe move into, because like, it's all well and good to process things and get through, your own trauma, which of course is a never ending battle. There's always going to be things that we didn't think about that are going to move through us. And, in the work that you and I do, I think also there's like ancestral stuff comes up, things that, there's actual evidence now that, there's 14 generations of genes in our body. So,
wow.
So the cells and the DNA of 14 generations ago, and God only knows what was happening back then. You know what I mean? is still within us. So there's something to be processed there. And I think on a spiritual path, in recognizing our ancestors and honoring our ancestors, you know, that kind of trauma comes up. So there is like a never ending sort of batch of trauma to process and to deal with. And you know, personal development is a never ending battle. Enlightenment, you never get to the point where you're like, oh, here I am. That's it. Good deal. We're done. You know, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But there is also, I think, a transition from focusing just on me and my problems. Like I get enough stuff processed and out of the way that then I can be of service.
Yeah.
And then in being of service and actively thinking, how can I be of service in the world? What can I do that's going to be of value to other people and it's going to contribute something to them, make them feel more joy or happiness in their lives, or grief, go through some sadness in their lives. And then that becomes more of a focus. And also it gets me off of myself and into other people and into our own connection.
Yeah.
And how important that is. And I wonder, how's that shown up for you in your life, particularly lately?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel, you know, when we focus on service, we're focusing on helping to create the world that we want to see, holding the vision of the world that we want to live in, a world with far less suffering, far less oppression, far less colonization, far less war, far less internal war, external war. How do we then be part of the solution? How do we then be part of creating these visions that we hold? I am still in the process of figuring this out for myself. You know, I start at home with my kids, becoming the type of parent that I want to be, respecting them as autonomous human beings. They don't belong to me. I have been given the gift to steward them, and it's my responsibility to clean up my internal world so that I can see clearly, so I can see who they are clearly and offer support as opposed to trying to control or think they belong to me. I think we're all coming out of that paradigm of parenting. And I think we see that reflected in the systems in the world that we've created that are all breaking down. They're not healthy. We can see it so clearly. I think learning how to create healthy systems within my home is the first step for that. Because if I can't do it in my immediate circle, how am I then going to do it in the circle outside of that, in the ripples outside of that? One of my friends just described this, I think it was Erez actually, described it as throwing a rock in the pond. The strongest ripples are right outside of where the rock went in. That's where you can have the most influence. So this is available to all of us. Let me clean up my internal world, then my internal circle, first and foremost. Let me make sure that I'm showing up in a way that's in alignment and integrity with who I am becoming, and who I want to be. And sometimes that's enough work in and of itself, just doing that and being the change within your own life, within your own community, within your own family. And then letting that guide you from there. And so that's really where I'm at. And there's a lot of ways that I contribute on a larger scale than that. But it's varied and it's diverse, and I'm still learning and I'm still being guided. And I tend to be somebody who just goes where the need is that's coming in, and just try to give as generously as I can, which wasn't always the case for me. You know, it like, because we're in this paradigm of scarcity, right? There's fear. And when you realize, like, it feels so good to give. Yeah. It feels so good to give. Good. Yeah. It feels amazing. But also I think some people, there's also the tendency to overgive for some people. And then there's a resentment that can come in. So finding that balance. Right. For sure.
And also giving to yourself too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think gets so lost. Yeah, that's beautiful. There's so many great things in what you just said. Being a great parent, like just starting there, you know, that's like enough really. And also, you know, there's such a wellspring of joy that to be found in being of service. Like, you know, I'm sure there's moments that you have with your kids where you're like, you realize that you overcame something and acted in a way that was like beneficial. And they don't know that you did that internal work, but you know that you did that internal work. Yes. And then you're like, yeah,
like I did it.
I broke the cycle.
Yeah. And then eventually you have more days where you're like, yes, okay, I did it. Then the days where you're like, oh my God, I showed up in that way. That is not how I want to show up. And the big thing that I've learned from doing the type of work that we do is to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Is to stop and go, oof, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To learn how to apologize from an authentic place, I think is really important for a lot of humanity right now too, to take responsibility. I think in our systems, that's what we're really seeing. Like, I find it so powerful when people go, oh, wow, we did this 30 years ago. That was wrong. Mm-hmm. Just to acknowledge it, to speak it into being, be like, yeah, this is a terrible way that we created this country.
Yeah.
We enslaved people.
Yeah.
We need to own that as a country. I want to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Because we have to come from a place of truth and acceptance and put the light on it.
Yeah.
Not to shame anybody, but like, let's speak what is. Let's speak the truth of what is.
Yeah. We genocidally murdered millions of people that were doing a pretty good job of living their lives here, even on this land that we sit right now. You know, this is Nisenan land originally, and they were all kicked out and a lot of them killed during the gold rush. This right where we're sitting right now is gold territory.
Yeah. And we
can't
and it's
go
important
back in time. To like honor that. It's important to like, I mean, just speaking right now, you know, I really want to honor the ancestors, the people that lived on this land and that cultivated this beautiful space. You know, I really recognize their contribution to my joy being here and my connection to this land. You know, there's something about that's healing for me, and I think for the land, and hopefully for the people who had to deal with all that stuff, you know, and their descendants, and just
and we can do that type of work individually in our own families as well. You know, if you're a parent and you have adult children, to listen to where there was pain in their past. And that's hard to do. It's humbling, right? Or, you know, even as a parent, as I am with young children, I have an open policy. Please tell me if I do something that hurts you, if I do something that's not working for you, like, oh, I want to know so I can make better choices. Yeah. And so being willing to sit with the people in our lives and go, wow, yeah, that's not how I wish I had shown up. I'm really sorry. Speaking it, acknowledging it, looking at it. Like, that's work we can all do.
Yeah. The willingness to look bad, you know? Yeah. It's like it
feels bad. That's why we don't want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, we both, I think, have a history in transformational work. You know, my wife and I did Landmark education, which I highly recommend to anybody. And, you know, that the ideas there are, you know, there are two things that we really care about in this life. One is to look good, and the other is to be right at all costs. That's it. And
these are the things the ego cares about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's right. And if we're willing to look bad, if we're willing to not be right, if we're willing to let go of being right, there's a universe of joy that's available to us because we just let go of that versus just struggling all the time to just be right.
Yeah.
This is, you know.
And so much of the overculture holds us to what feels like these standards of perfection that are not achievable, and they're illusory.
Yeah.
They're fake, and we drive ourselves crazy and we hurt ourselves and we self-harm trying to live up to something that's not even real.
Right. Yeah. That's unattainable.
Yeah.
And I think pointing to what you were saying, like the critical importance of making amends in this life, you know, it's so important to like, just like you're saying with your kids, you know, there's some days where you're not showing up as the Autumn that you want to be for them, as the mommy that they want to have.
Yep. And
you cop to it, you know, you say, hey, really, I'm sorry that I showed up to you in this way. And, you know, I want to let you know that. Yeah. However it is that you deal with it.
Well, it's something I learned as an adult. It's this idea of rupture and repair. Every relationship is going to have rupture. You can't be in a relationship in a healthy relationship without having a degree of conflict, because you're in this body and I'm in this body and you've had these experiences and I've had these experiences, right? We're having this experience of the illusion of separation here. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of that experience. Oh, you're viewing life from this perspective and I'm viewing it from over here because we're in two separate bodies. So you're going to have rupture. And so it's not pretending that that's not going to happen. It's learning how to repair.
Yeah.
So the cycle of rupture and repair. And that is something I learned as an adult. So if I can learn it, everybody can.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't easy. You know, you're like, it feels foreign at first. And then all of a sudden it feels amazing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, right. I get to be human. It's okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's okay. This isn't easy.
Yeah.
And just the humility to repair and say, yep, no, how can I make this better?
Mm-hmm. And the willingness to look ugly and have it be ugly and not worry about that it's ugly. It doesn't look good. Yeah. It looks crappy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I feel like part of the illusion and the trap of being human and the ego is like, we have this idea that, well, if I don't fix it, it'll just go away. No. It still looks ugly and we can see it.
And we can see it.
We can see that you are suffering greatly with this thing, this burden that you won't, that you won't let go of. You won't make amends. You won't say that you're lost. You won't admit. We can see how tense you are in your body and we just want you to let it go. It's so much easier to let it go. But we don't, the ego doesn't want us to think that. It just wants us to keep going. Well, it feels like
you're going to die. That's how it's so scary. And so having compassion for people and for myself, when we're not ready to move past that, it's like, because it feels like you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to acknowledge that and have compassion for how hard it is to let go of these pieces of ourselves that we have picked up in order to stay safe or to have the illusion of safety.
Stay safe.
Right. I know, but it's very real, and crossing these thresholds and changing these parts of ourselves is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not. Once you get more used to it, it gets fun and you're like, oh my gosh, the feeling of freedom that I'm finding in all of this, right? Like you feel like you can finally breathe, but when you're first learning to do it, it's really hard. And so having compassion, the other thing I've learned, having compassion and understanding for wherever anybody is at on the journey, that's where it's okay.
Yeah.
And, even myself looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, people could completely see that thing I was doing. Mm-hmm. I cannot believe, I thought I was being so stealth and this was like my technique to hide this part of myself. I'm like, no, people who know could see. So embarrassing.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, it allows me to have compassion for other people when I see something that they're not ready to see. Like, no problem. That's okay. I love you. And going back to what you were saying too, like, how do I come more from love's operating system?
Yeah.
How do I come more from that? So transforming these areas where we want to judge into more love. Amazing. Look at you humaning.
Yeah.
We're all humaning. It's hard. This is what it looks like for you today.
Yeah.
Right?
It's okay to look like shit.
Oh my God.
It's okay to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's okay to have shame, Yeah, all those things are okay. And there's yeah. I wanted to come back to stay safe. So, like, I every time somebody says that, I did like a Instagram thing about it because I was so frustrated. Like this whole idea of stay safe, I hate it. I really hate it because it's just getting people to pretend like everything's okay. And really what stay safe means is be afraid. Continue to be afraid and continue to just be in your own little place where you can maybe protect yourself, but probably not, and not fully experience life. I think as a people, humanity is generally greatly suppressed or oppressed in a lot of ways. I don't know that any of that is intentional. Like, I don't know that there's a whatever shadow government or the black, the Illuminati. I don't know about all that shit. Okay. I don't know about all that. That doesn't seem like it's a thing, but maybe it is. I don't know. But I do know that there are blanket things that occur in our society that are oppressive. Mm-hmm. One of them is this idea that stay safe. You need to be afraid. You need to dwell in fear. Watch the news. You'll get terrified of shit that happened on the other side of the planet that has nothing to do with you, but it happened. So I should be afraid here, even though that's got nothing to do with me. Stay afraid. Be in that space. That's one of the things. Because also, like, and again, I don't think it's an organized thing. I think fear sells, so that's why it's on the news.
Yeah.
It's like people want to be afraid. That's why horror movies are successful. It's
yeah, and it's a tricky thing because there's also the element, like with horror movies, of the element of catharsis, these shadow parts of ourselves that we don't want to look at within ourselves, but we can look at when somebody puts it onto a screen.
Right.
There's also the idea of it, illuminating the shadow, bringing that to the surface. I think it's both. And I was reading somewhere that
that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. So there's a place for it. There can be a place for it to expunge. That's the word. Express the shadow. Yeah. I was reading somewhere that the way that information gets into the world has accelerated so rapidly that our nervous systems haven't had time to evolve to catch up for it. So when you're watching the news, the amount of trauma that you are being asked to take in, process, see, our nervous systems actually can't handle that. And then you have people who are watching the news all day, every day, and then shooting children who come onto their doorstep because they're living in so much fear that they can't see the truth of what is happening in the real world that's right in front of them because they're living in this vibration of fear all the time and their nervous system can't handle it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the fear-based operating system doesn't work for people. I mean, that's where disease comes from as well, and scarcity and that whole idea, just being terrified all the time, it just doesn't work. Like I think part of what what you and I are championing is the idea of like, just be in love, but also like just let it be messy. It doesn't have to look perfect. It can just be the way that it is.
Can I tell you, the me from 4 years ago would have never expected to be having this conversation and championing that with you. And I feel just so grateful that you just spoke that and that I get to be on that journey with you.
Yeah. Right on.
Wow.
Woo. Yeah. I mean, don't be safe, be messy, be dangerous, take risks. Like, for God's sake, don't be safe. Take risks, find out what you love. If you mess it up, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I mean, anybody, like I know, I also grew up acting and I still do some acting and will be doing more of it in the future. And, I know like one of the formative things for me as an actor was understanding in the rehearsal process, okay, you're going to suck at it at first. You're going to get on that stage and you're going to read your lines. You're not going to know what you're saying or why you're saying. You don't know where to go. You have to allow it to suck. You have to, Nicole Schreiber and I talked about this. You have to embrace the suck. You have to say, okay, I'm just going to allow myself to be crappy at this at first. Even with singing and songwriting, same thing, any sort of performance, comedy for sure. You have to allow it to be, you have to accept that it's going to be shitty at first. You have to embrace the failure because the failure is the path to success. But there's something about that is critically important, because if I allow myself the space to not be good at it at first, right? To not have it down, then that grants me permission to discover and find it without having to look good the whole time.
Yeah. And I want to honor people who are at that place, myself included, for how hard it can be to break through that, because a lot of us received shaming as children when we weren't perfect, when we were in process. And artistic process, like you're saying, is really messy. And there's a lot of places where you're not good. And if you were surrounded by people who want to reflect back your failure to you, or want to reflect back your imperfections or your lack of mastery, so many of us shut down because of that, because now we've developed a belief system in which we think we have to have something mastered that we picked up yesterday.
Right.
Just because somebody in our life doesn't know how to hold space for an artist. So I want to honor the people of, like, that is a trauma that people, it's a micro trauma, but it's a trauma. And so then as an adult, if you're trying to heal that, you're having to also heal this wounded little child who was told that they had to have it down perfectly when they would just picked it up yesterday.
Yeah.
And so, and some of us are still surrounded by those people. And so what I would say is those people don't get to come into your inner circle. They don't get to be part of your artistic process because they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to do that. And so this is when you get to do it alone in your home until you know that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, hopefully that will start to pull in more supportive people who are also doing this work and then therefore can support you in that because they know how hard it is because they're doing it too. Because most of the people who want to sit and judge, Brene Brown talks about this. Like, if you're not in the ring too, I'm not interested in your opinion.
Right.
Right. This is hard. It's hard to be in the ring.
Get off the couch, kid. Get in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. So learning who to listen to and who not to.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm walking this alongside everybody that I'm giving this advice to. Like I'm giving this advice to myself.
Here.
Yeah, exactly. But
all of this is notes to ourselves, really.
We should just rename the podcast Notes to Ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's something, you know, you were pointing to there that's really important as well. Like, I am in charge of who I allow judge me. Like, I'm the one who gets to say whether or not I accept your words as truth, you know, when you're judging me, right? Or even my own judgments. Like, you know, I'm the one who gets to say whether or not your words, whether or not they hurt me, because I'm sovereign of myself, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm either going to choose to accept them or not. You know, the automatic is to just be wounded and afraid and accept that this person who's, you know, whatever, playing persecutor to you, that they are powerful. They're more powerful than you are. That's the automatic. But if you just stop and say, wait, no, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
I'm in charge. I choose whether or not to accept what you're saying to me. Then you can step back into your own power and say what you need to say or extricate yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
And not go into that cycle again and again and again. Because I think that's definitely part of like what's so important for us in this moment as humanity is untangling ourselves from all of these like never-ending processes that are like causing so much turmoil and
that's why I just
violence.
see a lot of them as like patterns that exist on top of who we really are. So when people want to use labels like, oh, no, he's a narcissist, it's like he's addicted to patterns of narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
They're patterns that this being is attached to for whatever reason. And so that's how I tend to try to view everything. It's like we're all God's children. We are all expressions of unconditional love who are under these patterns that we're addicted to.
Right.
But we can break out of them. You know, the pattern you were just talking about, the drama triangle, right? I'm going to be victim. So I need a persecutor and I need a rescuer so that I can stay victim, so that I don't have to accept my full power that's available to me. But these patterns, it's like neural pathways, right? They're so ingrained. We so often can't even see that there's an alternative. Yeah,
that's right. And the victim triangle, I mean, is such a terrible thing. And it's such an age-old thing that humanity has been dealing with since we were, you know, trying to make fire, you know? I have to choose somebody I am the victim and that person is my persecutor and then I need to rescue her. And everybody's constantly playing that role and throwing that.
It feels like you step into a racetrack, like that goes in a loop.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, how did I get in? Did I even want to sign up for this race?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Yeah. Archetype. I think the word I was looking for is archetype. We throw these archetypes onto all these people and it's just constantly, we're just playing that dynamic out. Where am I going to be the victor? And then maybe I can help this person out, you know, but that never works. I mean, even trying to save people doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't work. It's unfortunate, but it just doesn't work. You can go to bat so hard for somebody. You can bring them to the, you know, like I've had to deal with some other friends who were dealing with addiction, and most of the time they don't listen because the addiction is more important. So even though I'm playing the rescuer and trying to help them, I'm still in that paradigm. Like it's only when they figure it out for themselves that they can actually liberate themselves.
And all of our timing is perfect too. That's the other thing I realized. I would be like, wait, but this this would be so much better if it happened in this timing. It's like, no, now I'm playing God.
Yeah.
No, now like I'm in my arrogance about this, right? I'm in my savior complex about this, that I think that that's my job,
Right.
that I think that I have the power to do that.
Yeah.
The real answer behind all of this is loving everybody exactly where they're at.
Yeah.
And that can be so hard
It's
sometimes,
very challenging,
really
yeah.
hard. But like love is the most powerful force. Love is the medicine.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So then wherever it is that I see myself stuck in this triangle of victim, rescuer, or persecutor, you know, how do I just stop, take a breath?
Yeah, but it can be so fun to play rescuer, right? Then there's our own addiction coming in, right?
Exactly.
Like, I'm addicted to playing rescuer because it makes me feel good about myself.
Superheroes, yeah.
Totally.
Exactly. But really the only superhero is ourselves.
Oh,
And he just won the Cheesy Award, ladies and gentlemen. The only superhero is ourselves.
I love it though.
But that's right. I mean, I think, you know, so much of this is sort of painted over our discussion so far, but, you know, trying to liberate ourselves from our own traumas and our own family history. I know, like, my grandfather, was abusive to my grandmother, and my dad had to watch that. And it was only when my grandfather was drunk, but it was awful. I mean, it was awful. And my dad had to grow up with that. I mean, there was one time where he got so mad, he like took a baseball bat to the counter and was like, if you hit her again, I'll kill you. And he was a scrawny little kid, you know? And then he just like went in his bedroom and like got under the covers. And my grandmother went in and was like, God, it's amazing how you zip away reality, you know? But that's what he did. I mean, so that was the cycle, right? And by the way, my grandfather was locked in the closet by his mother. So it's like there's a cycle.
Of course.
It's not like
it comes from somewhere. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. It comes out of pain. It comes out of a wound.
Yeah. And by the way, also like my grandfather did that. It was terrible. Okay. That was in that day and age, which was whatever.
More acceptable.
The 50s. And then he stopped drinking, and he was an awesome grandfather. Like, he taught me how to box. He was great. Like, took me fishing. Like, it's not to say he was an evil man. It's to say that there was a cycle of violence that was in my family line that went back and back. I don't even know how far, right? But for sure beyond my grandfather to my great grandmother to whoever instilled that in her, and then to my father. And now my father would get really angry sometimes when I was a kid, and he would like shake and it would freak us all out, but he never laid a hand on anybody. He just was emotionally terrifying.
Yeah.
And then my dad got Parkinson's, and also I saw all of this. Like, I heard about what my grandfather did to my grandmother after my grandfather died. I remember I went to this grave and I was like yelling at his grave. I brought incense. I did this whole thing, you know, when I was like 17, because I was so pissed off, because it's like, that's something that would drive me to violence, is violence against women, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, my dad got Parkinson's, and he like really opened up after that. My mother divorced him, and then he got Parkinson's, and it was just like the anger that he had dissipated and his heart opened.
Wow.
Over time. And he chose to have his heart open. I mean, my dad lived with Parkinson's for like almost 30 years.
Whoa.
And it's because he chose to have a positive attitude about life. Like, he chose love. He really did. I mean, not to say he's like without his faults or anything like that. That's not to say any of that. It's that he chose to live. He wanted to live. And his heart opened. Like, ask anybody who knows him. He just became a more loving, you know, bear huggy kind of guy. And so, like, there's this cycle of violence. That cycle ends with me, because I won't do that.
Yeah. And I also I want to honor your father for stopping it at the physical expression of it. It sounds like it was still coming out in a lot of other ways, but how difficult that is to stop that physicality, that physical energy from going through the family line. Like, he was able to do that first piece of it. despite all of the other parts that it sound like bled out and were damaging and traumatic, he was able to stop that piece of it.
Yeah.
And so anybody who it's like, you've been able to do just that piece, I honor you, and I honor him for his ability to do that. And I honor you for your commitment to end the cycle of suffering in your family, because it reverberates throughout generations forward and back, whether you have your own children or not. It's within the DNA of the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, I really, and I think that's part of it is, you know, we have a good friend who, you know, talks about how powerful it is to make the declaration, the cycle of suffering ends with me. Mm-hmm. And that's accurate. You know, the cycle of suffering ends with me. It's, I shouldn't say it's accurate, because that's a trap. Sorry. It's accurate to say that that is a very powerful thing to say, that the cycle of suffering ends with me.
And I feel your commitment to it when you say it. It's a declaration. Yeah.
It's a place to stand. It's not to say that I'm not going to suffer. I will suffer. I know I'm going to suffer. I'll probably suffer later today, you know? Like, it's inevitable. Life is suffering. But the cycle of suffering ends with me is to say, like, I am choosing to live a path of love where I am not a victim of the suffering, where I'm not just a product of the suffering. You know, I'm not just like bouncing around constantly suffering and reacting to everything, where I'm able to be of service and be in love and like stand back and, you know, take a breath.
And having the consciousness to say, this one thing I will change. I will do this differently. Yeah. And to fight against those patterns, like where you want to be sucked back into something that's deep in your DNA, deep in your neural pathways. Mm-hmm. You can feel it. Like it's like dipping into, it feels like falling into a ditch. Yeah. Right. These old patterns. And it's why it takes so much energy to say no, to have the courage to see the ditch, to feel the ditch, and to keep your car on the road. No, I'm going here. Mm-hmm. And that's where spirituality for me has been so helpful, to have a prayer practice, to have a gratitude practice, to have a meditation practice, to come back to be able to keep my car on the road when it wants to go into the ditch, when everything from my past is wanting me to drive the car into the ditch. Yeah. This is a good metaphor. Yeah. It's really good. I like it a lot. It's good. Yeah. This ditch thing. It's good. Like, I'm visualizing that whole thing. And it's like, you know, your car's constantly like, you're always swerving, you know, and it's like icy, you know, and trying to get up the road, but it's like, you have to keep truing yourself. Well, how do you true yourself? I mean, I think you're right. For me, I know it's like meditation, prayer is like so critically important. If I don't meditate, like I meditated this morning, it changes the outcome of my entire day. And I don't even know, it's not even important, like what's going on, you know, with me internally. I know that just sitting and praying and being present with myself and breathing gives me so much more strength to carry out the day. And also it gives me separation. Yeah, that little breath before you choose how to react or respond to something, it changes time, creates a little more space everywhere in your day, so you can choose, so you can make a conscious decision not to yell at your kids, for example. Yeah. Like, everything is being like, I'm so angry, this is how it wants to express. I suddenly have the space to take a breath and choose differently. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I that so many times, I mean, I've been meditating for a long time. Many years. But there's so many. Weren't you a Buddhist? Weren't you? Yeah. You were. Technically, I am a Buddhist. Ah, okay. Yeah. In fact, Eido is Geoff Eido, E-I-D-O, is my Dharma name that was given to me by a Zen teacher. It means illuminating way, which is a pretty beautiful. Tough calling, frankly. How did you and at what age did you step onto that path? I guess I started meditating when I was like 15 initially. I started out with transcendental meditation. What? 16. You were so much cooler than me as a teenager. Yeah. I mean, I lost my way along the way for a number of years. That's what makes the journey good. Yeah. But I was into it. I've always been a seeker. Yeah. And then when I got into college, I had a Jesuit priest, Father Wren, who was a Zen teacher. And like, that really got me hooked onto it. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I studied at the Santa Monica Zen Center while it existed in Santa Monica for a long time. But one of the things that I find
super valuable about it. And by the way, it's not to say like I've had a perfect path. I've had umpteen failures and bouts with drinking and all kinds of stuff, that I've gone through, and I'm not there. Okay. I have not arrived. But one thing that I notice routinely is if I meditated in the morning and then something shitty happens during the day, I don't react to it. I respond. I'm like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. That would have hit me way harder if I didn't meditate in the morning. This thing that's happening now that is somewhat stressful would have hit me way harder than it is.
Yeah.
And there's a little recognition like, oh, and then it's also kind of like, good job. Glad you meditated. And it's sort of reinforcing that pattern of behavior. But as you say, I think it's a critically important thing. Whatever it is for you, it could be like running every day. It could be going to the gym, even though I think also it's valuable to have some kind of a prayer thing where you're connecting to nature. Could be your religion, could just be the force, or connecting to the ocean, connecting to the sky, just being thankful for being alive. It doesn't have to be religious, it's whatever it is like for you. I think that's so important, Yep. Yeah. Nice.
This is so fun. Thanks for asking me to come do this.
Yeah. What else do we need to get into? Oh, okay. Let me ask you this. So, for you, what is sacred and what is insane?
Oh, this is like the podcast question.
Yeah.
For what is sacred and what is insane? I think I'll start with insane because this is what's very prevalent to me right now. I think what's insane is the way that we as a culture throw people away. We throw them into prison. Where do you think they're going? Where are they going? They're still part of the human family.
Mm-hmm.
These are our brothers and sisters. I think it's absolute insanity. I don't understand it. It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's being abused. It's being used for profit. That's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is, but this is not working. I think it's absolute insanity. It hurts my heart so deeply. And I pray for systems of healing and redemption and support.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest changes that I see that we need as society. You cannot throw people away.
Actual rehabilitation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also the problem that we're having in our relationship with Mother Earth. We're just going to throw this garbage away. Where is it going?
Yeah.
It's still here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as away.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Sacred. Our earth. Let's start there. Our lives. This gift of being here. Our relationship with our mother, the earth. I mean, what isn't sacred in so many ways, What is sacred in my life right now? Oh, I mean, and it's hard. Where do I start? This moment?
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Well, I really want to thank you, for being here. I also want to thank you for the work that you do. Like, I really want to thank you for being an actor and being in the movies that you're in and like giving people, that hope and that love and that experience. I think it's really beautiful. And I really want to honor you for being a great mom,
Thank you.
I think it's like, it's the most important job is being a mom,
And it is not easy, as everybody out there knows who has kids. Thank you. Thank you for seeing that about me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Some days I can't either. I don't want a human, don't want an adult, don't want a parent.
Yeah.
Some days, but that's part of it.
And I want to honor you for having such a good balance of, masculine and feminine energy. Cause you're it, like you're a single mom.
Yeah.
And so you have to carry both.
Yes.
Both of those.
And especially because I'm raising sons.
Yeah.
It's really, and I'm still learning about this and looking for communities to support them as they become young men too. You know, it's like there's a lot that I can do, but then there's a lot that they're going to need community for. They're going to need somebody other than their mother for. But yeah, it's been, you know, it's the right journey for me for whatever reason to learn how to do it in this way. Thank you for seeing that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also like, I really want to honor you for being a powerful woman because I think it's so important, you know, like I married a powerful woman, as you know.
Yes. We love you, Christine.
And I'm surrounded by powerful women in my life, you know, my mother, my sisters, like, and just, I am. And it's really important. I think there's something really fortunate about the fact that I grew up with, you know, around mostly women, 2 sisters and a mom. And, you know, my dad was there too, but at that time he was kind of checked out a little bit. He was just working all the time. But I think like, it's so critically important for us to honor women. And that's something that's gotten lost. Like it just, you know, you create life, you know, you hold the womb. Okay. Not me. I can't do it. And so I feel like what's happening globally and what I'm creating along with everybody else is, you know, that there's a balance and that women are honored in the way that they ought to be honored. And I like for that to happen, it's really critically important that women step into their power. And you've done that and you continue to do that.
But I think it goes hand in hand with men stepping into their divinity too.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much in the culture that does not support you guys in that. And that actively works against that in my viewpoint. And so every time that I see men sitting in ceremony or doing this type of work or expressing their journey and their vulnerability, I honor them, because it's just as critical.
Yeah.
We all rise together. We all need each other in this. And it's not easy to do. And we all need each other in this journey of raising human consciousness and stepping further into love. So thank you for the work that you're doing in that, because, you know, we sit in these circles and it's more women than it is men. And so we need our brothers. Yeah. We need divine masculine to rise and to go within and to have the courage to do the type of work that you're doing.
Well, maybe we continue.
We're doing it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, as a man, like I do think, you know, I'm a creative person. I'm a writer and a musician and
beautiful
an actor,
songwriter, singer.
Yeah. So I embrace that creative side of me, which I think is the feminine side. I just wish there was more acceptance in men culturally of embracing our feminine side, of embracing our vulnerability, even in allowing ourselves to cry and grieve and, you know, like that. It's so important, and to feel sad, you know,
yes,
and be sad and show that, you know, demonstrate that, not just hide it away or bottle it up or pretend like it doesn't exist, you know?
Yeah.
You can't beat it out of people. It just doesn't, doesn't go away.
Turns into anger and gets expressed externally. And we're seeing a lot of that in the culture right now, the pain of men being expressed externally.
Yeah.
And yeah, the more we can create safe spaces for the healing, for your guys' pain, for all of that. And yeah, I mean, you're doing it. You're doing it right now.
Yeah. Go us. Okay, cool. We chatted about talking about your movies and how that's important for people.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think this particular type of movie, these romances, do for people is they are very soothing for our nervous systems.
Yeah.
Like I hear from a lot of people who life is hard. People deal with a lot of suffering. Like we're talking, there's a lot that people are going through that they're not supported in our medical system, for example. Like we just keep raising the prices of groceries and reducing the amount of, you're paying the same amount for half of the cheese that you were 5 years ago. Right? the culture is not set up to support people in thriving. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
So everybody's struggling, and especially since the pandemic. And I hear from so many people who they can turn on one of these movies and take 2 hours to just, even though they know what's going to happen, you know what's going to happen. You know, these two are not going to get along, and then they are, and then there's going to be a kiss at the end.
Right.
That can be so helpful as a moment of pause. It's its own type of medicine in people's lives that are very difficult. A lot of people will tell me, your movies are what got me through the death of my husband.
Yeah.
Or this is how my mother and I bonded as she was passing away. And that's important too. You know, sometimes I'm like, I'm not, saying anything important and crucial and at the forefront of human consciousness, but it's like, this is important too. Everything that we're doing, if it's done with the intent to uplift, to be medicine, to be of service, it's all important. It all has a place. I really learned this during the pandemic because I was like, I'm not a nurse. I've got what we need is healing, and I'm not doing that. What did I do with my life? And then I met this group of 5 nurses from Philadelphia who all came up to me. They came to meet me at this event, and they said, your movies were our medicine, after they spent all day being the medicine for other people.
Wow.
So it was just a very humbling experience to not judge myself so much, to realize that everybody's healing does not look the same, that as long as you're listening to where you're being guided to go and where your medicine is being asked to be delivered to the world, it's all important.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
I know. It was amazing.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to acknowledge you for that. That's such a gift to people. And I think, I'm excited to see I know that there are first of all, I know you're going to do more films. And so I'm excited about that. But I also know that there's a lot of new chapters coming for you and other contributions that you're going to make in combination with this discussion. I mean, I feel like you and I have really gone deep into who you are, who I am, who we are for each other, what our commitments are for the planet. So I think that really gives people the permission to have that vulnerability and be warriors on the journey of personal development, which is, it's interesting. I just finished a podcast with my friend Ron Weinrich, who is a veteran of the Israeli army and, is in a wheelchair as a result of those conflicts. And I was like, what do you think about peace in the Middle East? And I was expecting him to be, I don't know why I thought he would be more optimistic. But it's really dire over there. And his answer was personal development. His answer was all I know is I don't know what the path to peace is, but I know what works is personal development. I know that works. And if we can encourage people, which I think is right, if we can encourage people to embrace personal development, to really have people embrace a love operating system and ask what that looks like and confront all the ways that we're, avoiding that and how in fear we operate, then that really will open up the pathway for us to have peace in the Middle East and elsewhere.
Yeah. And
in ourselves.
Well, one of the things that our teacher says is, when you're looking outside at the wars and wanting to stop the war out there, have you stopped the war within?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Buddha says that too.
Yeah. That's probably where he got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. All right, good. Well, here's wishing all of you out there love and peace in your lives. And, we just really want to encourage all of you and all of us to keep fighting to create love in the world and to keep being messy and ugly and allowing it to be the way that it is.
I love you. Thank you for having me on. This was just, we got to spend so much time just connecting one-on-one without outside distractions and disruptions. And I'm so grateful for that and for the opportunity to feel like I can be myself.
Yeah. Awesome. I love you, Autumn.
I love you, Jeff.
All right. Great.
Thank you.
Lunacy is a creation of myself, Geoff Eido, with podcast management by Kimberly Joy Voice LLC. Thank you so much. Much love, everybody.